Hello there.
The cinema courtroom is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back to the Cinema Courtroom, a podcast where your favorite blockbusters await trial with your very own host and galactic judge, Makram Mark. Do not forget to like and subscribe on whatever streaming platform that you're tuning into, whether it be Spotify or the Cinema Courtroom YouTube channel, because every click on the icon counts. Do not forget to ring the notification bell loud and clear and share this podcast with your friends, family, cat, dog, pigeon, whomever. Let us begin with our review topic, Top Gun Maverick, where we're also going to be joined by a special guest to give voice to the movie after I give you my full review on the preceding segment. I cannot wait for you to get to meet this person and to hear this person. And I mean, hey, you could only hear my voice so many times, right? Now, without further ado, let us begin with my review on Top Gun Maverick.
Mark 10. Let's give Mark 10.
I would like a quick show of hands from the jury. Has anyone ever flown a plane? You know what? Don't answer that question, because I know for an absolute certainty that your piloting skills will be inferior to Maverick. Why did I even ask this question to begin with? Listen, that aside, Top Gun Maverick is an excellent movie. And I know that I'm sharing my thoughts out of order here, because usually I form this conclusion at the very end of my review and make you listen through the slow burn aspects of it, you know? But no, I am just going to flat out say that this movie was excellent. So rather than wait for me to say that sentence, let me just go into reasons why Top Gun Maverick is a love letter to organic and pure filmmaking. This is a film that isn't trying to be politically correct or woke. Bonus points for that. And I mean, even if it was woke, it wouldn't matter as much. But I would have still been a tad annoyed. Top Gun Maverick has a talented cast, solid visuals, the cinematography is off the charts, wildly entertaining, the dogfights are riveting, well composed, there is natural comedy that just flows like the wind. When Maverick students toss him out of the bar like a rag doll and then find out that the next day that they kicked out their newly assigned instructor, frickin' hilarious. By the way, do you know how an opening scene is meant to get you invested into the very gist of the movie? Kind of like an elevator pitch? My eyes were glued to the screen when Maverick's boss is about to shut the program down, and with a look of anarchy, he decides, no, I am going to go on one last flight, and not only does Maverick steal that plane, he outright tries to exceed his limits, almost to the point that his peers have to tell him to slow down. Okay, now I just want to get into two fundamental elements of this review, which elevate Top Gun Maverick to the top. Top Gun Maverick. Get it? Get it? Top Gun. Alright, let's get to the point of why Top Gun Maverick is one of the greatest films of this year. Top Gun Maverick can stand on its own 2 feet regardless of what order you want to watch this movie in. You can either begin with Top Gun, which is the preferred order, or jump straight into Top Gun Maverick. This film, without having to rely on an excessive use of recaps and filler exposition, briefs us in on what happened in Top Gun. It's like when you have to go to the restroom in the middle of the lecture and you're worried that you missed out on some stuff, but when you come back, the lecturer welcomes you back with open arms and gladly fills you in on what you missed. Compared to other movies, and let's face it, most of them get a kick on chastising the general audience for not getting it. Why didn't you watch the other movie? Or as the lecturer would love to say, why didn't you go to the bathroom after the lecture? That's the excuse you'll love to tell you, right? Well, this analogy isn't at all the case with Top Gun Maverick. Bradley Bradshaw is the son of Maverick's belated friend, Goose, who died in the last movie. And even if you haven't reviewed Top Gun, the general audience can immediately sense that Top Gun Maverick could just be any movie that stands on its own. And that's pretty rare for a sequel. In fact, this might contend with Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back as a sequel, although that is an entirely different subject matter. The protagonist wants to protect his deceased friend's son and would go extra lengths in order to prevent their son from having that same fate. Like, from my own experience, I watched Top Gun Maverick in the theater. Unfortunately, they didn't have IMAX showings available. I am raging with immense bitterness even thinking about it, because this movie deserves the top resolution, widescreens and sound that it can handle without question. I digress to say that when I watched this movie, I was kind of skeptical that it would alienate me as a general audience member who hasn't even seen the first Top Gun Maverick film. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to get to watch it. But fortunately enough, these concerns were instantly annihilated, and that's something we, as a general audience, take for granted a lot. The next thing that makes this movie so excellent is that Tom Cruise kills it in the role of Maverick. Even after 4 decades, he carries on the legacy of his character, as if he was just eating the same leftover pizza from the day before. And Tom Cruise isn't just de-aged just so the movie can, somehow look consistent to the first Top Gun installment or be adjacent to Hollywood standards. Instead of spending millions of dollars on altering Maverick's appearance, the audience knows straight off the bat that Tom Cruise is in his late 40s. So what? And his performance as Maverick reflects. Yet there is that determination for him to relive the glory days. The final thing I would like to get into about this movie is the scene between Iceman and Maverick. The theater I was in was just dead silent. At the scene where Iceman is revealed to have a terminal illness, which kills him later in the movie, and Maverick consoles with him. Like, what do? I have proven to be a hindrance to this guy's career, but I also don't want him to die in an extremely hazardous mission. I can never go to sleep at night if I have this pilot's death scene in my consciousness. That's what Maverick is thinking. And the audience can deduct that from this effectively projected exposition that the true villain of this movie is Maverick's internal conflict. Speaking of villainy, notice how this movie doesn't even reveal the name of the country that they're operating against. Probably Iran, but that's just my speculation. Or it's a mix of various possibilities, just so the movie can remain as apolitical as I respect it to be. The bottom line here is that Maverick must wrestle with his internal battle, which has to do with his obligation to train Rooster. But Maverick also feels a heavy sense of obligation to accommodate Goose's wife's, Bradley Mother's, request to protect Bradley's life, which would only theoretically be achieved if he doesn't let him become a pilot. And that's why he pulls his draft, which delayed him around 3 to 4 years, hinging on his career. But I think where the scene between Iceman and Maverick really pulls on the audience heartstrings is when, without verbal exposition from Iceman's end, we can somehow hear in our minds the emotional turmoil and concern in each line that Iceman communicates via the computer to Maverick. Iceman reassures Maverick, and I will quote the exact line here because I rewatched this movie. The Navy needs Maverick. This reminds us that it's true. Maverick is a necessity in order for the Top Gun program to function seamlessly. He knows the ins and outs about dogfighting. Period. He knows the ins and outs about rescue missions. He knows the ins and outs about pretty much anything to do with operating the plane in the US Navy. In the first act of the movie, Maverick literally goes out of his way to toss aside a handbook of the course and jump straight into the practical side of things, rather than gloss over the theoretical aspects, because there is a lot to flying. Not that I would know, of course, but there is so much to flying than what can be read in a textbook. And the fact that Maverick endorses that show, not tell philosophy is stupendous. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Top Gun Maverick is truly excellent and a love letter to pure filmmaking. What do you guys think about Top Gun Maverick? Do you think it subdues the first installment? Do you even concede with my thoughts on this movie? Do you disagree? Are you somewhere in the middle? Do you even care? I invite you to just share your insights in the comment section below. Now over to Ducky. So let us hear what our special guest Ducky has to say about Top Gun Maverick. Before then, I think that a formal introduction is in order. Ducky, how are you? What is your name? Your favorite movie? And tell us a little bit about what you like to do in general.
Okay, so my name is Ducky. I am a cosplayer on Snack Shack. I have 2.3k followers on Instagram, and I am the feature ambassador of PopCon that's happening in November. And my hobbies are rugby, art, cosplay, of course, and gaming. And a little bit about myself is that I love my family, and I like going out with my friends, and I like being explorative and trying new things. And my favorite movie is Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli.
All right, that's awesome. And also, Ducky, I would just like to acknowledge your interest on being on the show here tonight. It's past midnight, as we've already discussed.
Yeah.
And I truly admire your dedication. We're going to be laid back and chill for this podcast, so rest assured for both of us. And that said, thank you so much again for being here. All right, so taking into consideration the fact that you got to watch Top Gun Maverick, starring Tom Cruise, I've already shared with you my initial review before I started the show. However, I'm very intrigued to hear your thoughts on Top Gun Maverick. Do you think it deserved the title of box office success?
Um, so I've watched both. The reason why I've watched both of them was because my dad, who is in his, he watched it when it first released when he was younger, and I honestly wanted to try see what all was the hype about because he adores the movie with all his heart. What I thought about Top Gun Maverick was that it was like extraordinary. I thought that the movie, like the cinematography with every added aspect and the detail and the amount of effort that they put into it is absolutely extraordinary. I thought it was really good and I thought it was really, really beautiful. I watched it with my friend. I thought they enjoyed it as well, also being the first time I watched any Top Gun Maverick movie. And honestly, I think that, in my opinion, it is really good compared to like just the original, but I still feel like the original still has some like newfound ground on it. I still feel like that the movie itself is better being the original than it is um for the new one, but I find both equally good in its own way when it comes to certain parts. And yeah, I think that's really nice.
Okay, well, it's really interesting how you say that this movie has delicate attention to detail. What I want to ask you is, what detail stood out to you when watching this movie? Like any at all?
So the detail in there's so many, honestly.
Yeah.
When I watched the movie for the first time, in the original, I find that the uh like the dramatic opening of how Top Gun became Top Gun, you know, how he joined, like how Maverick joined the force, what got him into everything, and just the tension of his love life, were compelling with his job, and him fighting the Air Force is absolutely wonderful. But the thing that I felt like was the best that they did in Top Gun Maverick was the cinematography. Like I said, it's beautiful. The lighting, the angles, the effect of different features, the parts of when they were in the snow where like they fell out of the plane and they were trying to before they were trying to raid the enemy airships. I thought that was really beautiful and that's what made it so nice in the movie, but also because it's it returns, like there's some themes of the old movie that returned into the new one, which I think that everyone found really nice to watch again. Look on the new one, it's like it blows you away even more because continues to tell the story of Maverick, but also because it's his legacy that he's trying to live on through the new people and him and how he teaches them, where although his teaching at the start wasn't excellent, it was slow and it wasn't as accurate. It was how he learned on how he thrived to become a pilot. But what I found interesting was that slow development digressed into the ending of where they successfully pulled off the mission, and it's that feeling of relief and victoriousness with the characters in that movie. It makes you feel like it's just great, you know? I resonated with that because I felt like success should always be rewarded for, and that although you have a rough start with certain things in life, in the end you will be able to reach that no matter what, and it should be worthy that you should. You know, like it comes with everything in that. Top Gun Maverick shows the story of his life throughout both movies, but really in Top Gun Maverick shows that even though he tried to discard what he had before, he still has it, and he still has being one of the best fighter pilot people out there, you know? I think he's a great icon when it comes to people of the youth who want to embrace like their awakening, you know?
Yeah, that is a um, beautiful sentiment all around. Okay, so now that I've been, um, you know, graced with your first impressions of Top Gun Maverick, uh, let's get to what I like to call a spontaneous dialogue on two things. The first thing being the engagement with Top Gun Maverick today in 2022, and what the engagement was with Top Gun Maverick. No, not Maverick. Top Gun, not Maverick in 1986. And you've mentioned that your dad, who's obviously in a different demographic, you know, watched
Yeah.
Top Gun. So I think the question is, do you think it varies between demographics? For instance, someone who was alive when the first Top Gun movie came out as well, probably in their late 30s or 40s by now. So how do you think those people would perceive Top Gun Maverick, or how do you think they would experience it if they've seen the first one and went on to see the sequel? Like if they saw the first trailer for it, like would they be interested? But like I think the second thing that we can add to this discussion is
Yeah.
how were you? You've mentioned how you were even like first exposed to the Top Gun Maverick movies in general. You've got to see it on digital, right?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I suppose the question is, do you think Top Gun Maverick varies between demographics? I'd be interested to hear.
So when my dad watched it, he was very young. He was like in his like early 20s. So like when he first got out of like uni and everything, and he adores the movie. He loves these type of war films and like fighter jets, fighting type movies with a lot of gore and with a lot of like courage and stuff behind it. But he's now in his in his mid 50s, and
Wow,
I'm now
that's old.
16. And when I watched it, I thought like, wow, I get to see what my dad was really interested in at the time, and also like why he finds this movie so like memorable and significant to him. And for Top Gun being in the 19 like the original, um I find that like it shows some great classics. I think that when it first circulated, the Top Gun Maverick, it had clips on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube of those memorable moments within um Top Gun itself, of like the bar scene of where they're all singing together, the love of, you know, his long distance lover. And it's like, it's really nice. And also because I find that it shouldn't matter if like, even if I watched it and I felt like I wasn't too like, at first I wasn't too into it, but then as I watched it more, I got more engaged. And I feel like it shouldn't matter whether or not you're 50 so, or you're 90, or you're like 10 or 16, for example, like in my case. It shouldn't matter on demographic, but I think that for my dad, I think it impacted him more, because not only because he likes this type of film genre, um, he also was the first to watch it back then, and it came out in the cinema for him, compared to the newer generation of people who never heard of Top Gun and never watched the original. And I mean, I'm like, yeah, it's fine if you haven't watched it, but at the same time, it should be something that you should do rather than not miss out on, you know? But it's how you want to look at it, I guess, on whether or not it people should watch like if people back then have watched it and think, wow, this is the greatest movie of all time. This is like absolute peak. This is the one of the best movies that came out this year. Or they can be like, it was a good movie. It wasn't the best, but it was a nice watch, kind of like that. I felt like that in some way, But at the same time, I went to go watch it with my friend, and never watched Top Gun Maverick before, like any Top Gun. So they enjoyed it as well. They thought, well, they also like this type of war themes and war film type things with the genre. So I'm glad that they enjoyed it. But yeah, that's what I think about it. And yeah, I definitely think it depends on the person, but also demographic wise, I think that the older generation had a bigger impact when it came to the movie than it did for the older generation who's never, like, watched it. Like, they could have watched it during 2022, but I think it's just more better for them, you know what I mean?
And you know what I really find like the most like interesting is how people were, with the movie, how a movie, markets itself into the industry to get exposure and
Yeah.
stuff. Very TikTok wasn't around in 1986 for the first Top Gun movie, whereas now it is, an incentive to boost ticket sales for 2022 Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
So I suppose like there's a big like distinction between
Yeah.
how I guess different generations would be exposed to it.
Yeah. I
And-
felt like, oh, sorry.
no, keep it in.
I felt like, yeah, I agree with you that I felt like that especially when Top Gun Maverick came out, it like, although we have social media, although we have TikTok, although we have Instagram, although we have all these different types of social media handles to push this movie out, I felt like the hype that it should have had wasn't there. It wasn't as put out as, like the Disney Plus movie She-Hulk that recently came out, or like the Minions movie. Oh my god!
Oh my
Like,
goodness, the Minions is a whole nother story. Like
yeah, it's a whole different kind of worms. But like back then, they had billboards, they had the actual cinema promoting it. So obviously, they like when it came to their news and when it came to how they get information, those were the ways. And obviously, I assume that people back then just enjoyed it more because it was quicker to get to and quicker and easier. But
also think of like the competition. Very like even though Top Gun resonates with a fair majority of people,
yeah,
I'm betting if someone like who's only watched Star Wars, which is a much bigger and more, from how I see
bigger
it,
franchise, yeah.
yeah. Maybe they perhaps haven't even heard of Top Gun. So it's like
yeah,
it's the they have to like withstand like the competition during that time. Also, another thing I want to mention is in regards to the question, let's say someone watched the first Top Gun movie years ago when it came out and then was like, well, I'm going to move on in my life now, and then sees marketing material on TikTok, as you suggested, being published for the sequel, or on the poster, which is rather a old-fashioned method of marketing, but it still holds effect today. When they're going for like a stroll in the mall or something, or a sidewalk, they'll more likely reminiscence their first time watching the first Top Gun installment. And as they say, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, okay?
yeah. Oh my god, yes, of course it is.
I mean, we've seen it in Spider-Man No Way Home. And they might or might not be skeptic going in to see it. On the one hand, they are going to be pretty excited to view Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
because
of course.
it reminds them of their childhood of Top Gun.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think it's really dependent on a pivotal variable. Like, how has their preference changed and evolved over the years? If, God forbid, like someone enjoyed Top Gun in the previous century and got into, let's say, I don't know, a plane crash or any bad situation involving planes, psychologically, they might associate their near-death experience with planes.
And then Top Gun comes up.
Yeah, and as we know, Top Gun Maverick is all about planes and operating them and whatnot.
Well, not a lot of people like planes for different reasons.
Oh yeah, they can get like plane sick and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
or your ears start to pop as it descends down.
The descending.
But I suppose it's nothing compared to what Maverick has to do, which is literally
Or
operating.
historical type things.
Yeah, which is literally operating a plane. But you know, my point here is that people in various demographics change psychologically, preferentially, characteristically, etc., etc. There's a whole lot of character
It all
development.
depends on the person.
Yeah, it all
Yeah.
depends on the person. You know, it's like a constant changing variable. And
Yeah.
that being said, their engagement with Top Gun Maverick might change as well. So, like,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add to that, Ducky?
Well, yeah, I do agree that it depends on the person and the whole characteristic, age, gender, like everything. It depends on how you take the movie, how you indulge, and how you characterize it. But I feel like that no matter what movie comes out, and this goes for any type of movie, that you should go out to a movie to go watch it, to go enjoy something, and to spend that like 1 or 2 hours out of your day to go watch it. And I felt like if for the older generation, it was something to retouch for them and to re-enjoy as they step into that cinema and feel like they're 20 again. And then I think that's a really significant for some people. And that who doesn't want to feel younger and who doesn't want to like touch back on those phases of your life of where you felt like the life was good, the feelings of everything was just perfect. And that Top Gun Maverick definitely set a high bar for film and for everything that they put out.
I agree.
But I definitely feel, in my opinion, and I don't want anyone to come for me for this, please.
Oh, no.
I have a wife and children. That it wasn't my favorite movie for the sole purpose of that the movie didn't have enough hype.
Oh no, you're
And
allowed to have an
also-
opinion?
Oh my god.
God.
I'm so hurt. um it's I think because of the hype like not being pushed out, and also because I wasn't born in that era of the first Top Gun coming out. It just isn't my type of genre of movie. Although I have watched it because, I love my family and I really care for my dad, and something I want to talk to him about. It isn't always the thing that I enjoy watching the most, but I definitely feel like if there's any more to come out with Tom Cruise, because who doesn't like Tom Cruise?
Yeah, who doesn't?
He's like gorgeous, but he's now like in his like 30. No, he's in his 50s as well.
And oh my god, it shows in that movie, like, and the thing, one of the things I like about Top Gun Maverick is they don't shy away from just embracing it, because usually they would just CGI it out, but
Yeah.
but they actually, we can tell that he's like 50, but that's not what we care the most
Yeah,
about.
it should matter.
It doesn't distract
Tom
us.
Cruise and the volleyball beach scene.
It's frickin' Tom Cruise, exactly. Okay, I have one confession before we wrap it up. I haven't seen the first Top Gun movie, and here I am. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and that's
How
actually
dare you? You tricked me.
yeah.
How come you haven't watched the first one? I'm just asking.
Oh, maybe it's because I haven't got around to watching it. But then when I heard how successful Top Gun Maverick was, and that's what success of a movie does, and what positive word of mouth does. It brings you, it gets you to get a ticket to watch a movie. So I was like, is this movie what everyone is saying it is? So I went and saw the movie, keeping in mind I haven't seen the first one, and I think that's what I was a bit worried about, that this movie would alienate me, who hasn't seen the first Top Gun movie. You know,
Yeah.
like I heard about, I saw the intro on YouTube and stuff, so I knew they were doing that. But I think
Yeah.
what this movie excelled the most at, without having to rely on over like exposition, it's like they welcomed me into the fold.
Yeah.
They just gave us the basic, the bare bones of the movie, like Top Gun Maverick, has this internal like conflict,
Yeah.
with Goose and all that, and he doesn't want his son to. Wait, is Goose the son or is Goose the father?
Goose is the father, I assume, and then he had a son who died. Yeah.
Yeah, who died in the last movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why they don't want them to like to go back out there, because he thinks it'll just continue again, and it's
Yeah, and
emotional.
and the promise that he made to his mother, like he feels a sense of obligation to maintain that commitment to not send her boy to the front lines, you know. So yeah. Well, anyway, that wraps it up on our Top Gun Maverick discussion. Thank you, Ducky, for weighing in on this discourse about the movie and just discussing the movie, and
Yeah.
hopefully you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. And now it's like almost 2:30 in the morning.
Oh
I'm
my goodness.
pretty chilling.
You know how Maverick like has his own internal regrets in the movie? I think that's going to be one of my internal regrets, making you be on here
No,
at
it's
2
fine.
a.m.
I'm not gonna go to people saying like, "Hey, yo, I just got on a podcast," you know. I'm
Wow.
just gonna rub it in people's faces for like a few weeks.
I feel so humbled to hear you say that. Well,
You're tearing up.
yeah, I'm gonna take a moment.
Just wiping my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, where can people find you online? Do you have anything that you would like to promote? It's all yours.
Okay, you can find my work and my cosplays on Instagram at Snack Shack, so lowercase and snack with two C's, dot underscore dot. I will give you the link to it.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah. Put it on the screen for you. Here it comes.
Here, editing magic.
Editing magic, of course. And I hope I'm going to be attending PopCon in November. If you guys are in the UAE, it's in Dubai Expo City, November. It has a lot of film stuff going on, and it will feature a lot of media and everything, and I'm going to be representing there. So if you want to come see me, come say hello. And yeah, I'm really happy to be on here. Thank you so much for letting me come on. It's my first time being on a podcast, which is actually really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's it. You know, to me, I couldn't tell that this was your first time because you're just so brilliant, on here. So
I'm
yeah,
so flattered.
yeah.
But I just like public speaking, you know. I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
like conversation.
Same.
I think you should be able to express yourself and your opinion with other people, that it's okay to rather have it's okay to have not the same opinion, you know? And I think that's the great thing about podcasts and
If
this
we had
podcast,
the
you know?
same like opinions, I would be very like concerned and worried because I think like it, you know, I think
makes
that you're a
things
replica.
boring.
Yeah, and I think that you're like some randomized clone.
Alien.
Yeah. Who's just repeating everything I do. And
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just a bit weird. Like, yeah, it's nice to have the same opinion as other people, but it's better to have a discussion between what you think of your beliefs and your opinion compared to another person and having that discussion. And that's what's the most important part of, having these type of things like a podcast is and what it was created to be, you know?
And sometimes those beliefs like intersect. But yeah,
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It should just be fun and it shouldn't have any harm. Furthermore, yeah, it's just I just wanted to enjoy this type of thing. I've never done it and I wanted to see what it's like. And honestly now I'm going to come away from this with great experience and having to share my thoughts of what I experienced and yeah. So thank you again for letting me be on this podcast. I really appreciate it. And yeah, come follow me. I post cool TikToks and and cosplays. But yeah,
well, yeah, that just about does it then. You got to
Rockstar.
hear my full review on Top Gun Maverick, and you also got to hear Ducky's very insightful review on the movie. Hit me up when you want to do this again, by the way.
Yeah, let's definitely do this
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And until next time. And now we begin to near the post-sentencing hearing. What is the post-sentencing hearing, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. In the first half of the Cinema Courtroom podcast, we review one of the films that I have selected. Old and new, big and small, underrated and overrated, The Broken and the Damned, black, white, brown, orange, and blue. Then, in the second half of the recording, I assemble all of the leftover topics that pertain to the film industry in general and integrate it into one post-sentencing hearing list. Think of it as an after party that is long overdue, where you are invited. Yes, you in capital letters, or in judiciary terms, an invitation to a retrial in order to rectify an unfair hearing. Because sometimes, like the organic sapient that I am, I find that I've been too critically generous or harsh about a movie. So, most of the time, my opinions do change after a rewatch or two, which means I am compelled to review it again in a post-sentencing hearing. If you listen this far into the podcast, I salute you for sticking around to the second half of the Cinema Courtroom show. If you enjoy what you're hearing and what I have to offer, if you haven't done so already, I would very much appreciate it if you give this podcast a reshare and like this podcast by clicking the thumbs up or heart icon on whatever platform that you're listening on, Spotify or the Cinema Courtroom YouTube channel. This way, you will be supporting the Cinema Courtroom, as well as its future episodes, installments, and assets. That being said, I salute you in advance for your generous engagement and support, and I hope you continue to join us in the ride to success. In this hearing, we are going to cover the following: Blade's filming date, the future of Star Wars, and to finish it off, I will go over the top 3 things that I am expecting from DC's Black Adam.
Hello there.
Blade is one of many upcoming MCU installments that will be distributed to theatrical chains around the world in 2023. In San Diego Comic-Con this year, the month in which Blade was going to be filmed was revealed to be October. However, we still don't know the exact filming date of Blade until very recently. According to a fresh new listing on kftv.com via the Cosmic Circus, Blade is expected to begin filming on October 5th, 2022, less than a month from now. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm very much looking forward to Blade. Make no question about that. However, at the same time, do you want my honest opinion? Of course you do, right? I'm not looking forward to Blade. Why am I not looking forward to Blade, you might rightfully ask? Well, it's because of Mickey Mouse snorting cocaine at Disney headquarters and thinking that Marvel can't exhibit any scenes which exceed that of a PG-13 rating. Blade is a horror-tinged character. The Blade character displays a dark, violent, and frightening nature, and I want to see that. I demand blood! I know it's too much to ask, but screw the increased showtimes, alright? If you think making PG-13 movies with a dumbed-down script will generate you solid box office earnings, sure, giving it a lighter rating will, mean that more people get to see it. But at the same time, Logan dominated the comic book and pop culture industry and box office circle because it respected the story. And this is very much related to the fact that the Blade filming date is October 5th, 2022, because now it's too late to change or redo the script again because they're approaching production for that movie. Even with additional shoots in post-production, it's too late to alter the script, which now is an implication of the reality that we're going to be forced to accept. Blade is going to be dumped down to a PG-13 rating. I did say I was looking forward to this movie to an extent, and that's because of Kevin Feige, the producer of Marvel Studios' own judgment. Kevin Feige handpicked Blade personally and greenlit it even without anyone attached to the project. You can tell Kevin Feige, a businessman other than a competent storyteller, all you want. But there is no denying Kevin Feige has faith in that character, and that Blade is going to excel with Marsh Ali. Now, of course, just because someone is optimistic about a project doesn't mean I would have that same level of optimism. But Kevin Feige has had a track record of being responsible for the production of good and successful movies. Black Panther, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. In fact, just in case you were unaware about what happened with Spider-Man, Feige helped bring Spider-Man into the MCU and back into the MCU after the Sony and Disney fallout. And you know what? The MCU was all the better for it. We got the cinematic event Civil War. We got Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. We got Spider-Man movies, Homecoming, Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, look, say all you want about the new iteration of Spider-Man, having Tom Holland play him was the right choice. That being said, Mahershala Ali as Blade could be the 4-0 choice. And maybe Blade won't turn out to be a watered-down story after all. I don't know. What are your thoughts about Blade being expected to film on October 5th, 2022? I know I went on a tangent about my concerns of the upcoming movie and whatnot. But when a production date for a film is near, that's the time to reflect on its potential more than ever, in my opinion. Let me know your opinions about Blade and the filming date in the comment section below. The future of Star Wars movies is like if that of lovers. There hasn't been an epic, bigger-than-life, mythological space opera that resonated with a wide fan base and got many people invested in the future of it, like Star Wars. Whether or not you prefer the prequels over originals, or originals over prequels, or only the originals, or only the sequels, or prequels over sequels, or sequels over prequels, or sequels over originals, or peace and war, or yada yada yada. That's irrelevant to the reality that it has been 4 years without a Star Wars movie, ever since the Skywalker saga has reached its end. It is now 2022, September, and yet the future of Star Wars is undetermined to a large extent. We got no confirmed release dates for any upcoming Star Wars movies, and there has been little to no talk of distributing another Star Wars film, or even what it's about. You know, let me tell you something that you might have noticed. Ever since Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, was distributed into theaters on December 20th, 2019, Disney and Lucasfilms have allocated their budgets toward Star Wars television, not movies. There are shows like The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, which is really The Mandalorian 2.0, Kenobi, the upcoming Andor series, which is coming out this month, Ahsoka, and as such, that's why it is no picnic to find some Star Wars movie news to share here on the Cinema Courtroom show, because right now, at this present time, again, we can see that the primary focus is television. We know Rian Johnson has a new trilogy in the works for Star Wars, but how long until that's even made? There is also none other than the big boss of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, who is developing a Star Wars movie. But so far, all it's been is talk, and no show. No movie has been officially greenlit, or had begun its early marketing phase. No slate has been unveiled at a Comic-Con convention, or, wherever. And at the time of this recording, I don't even know if we will get anything at D23. I have a theory that many of you might stand by, and if, for whatever reason, you don't stand by my theory, challenge it in the comment section below. Alright? I want you to challenge me. For the reason that it is my intention to foster a well-debated space on my show. That's respectful, of course. For a matter of fact, shoot me a message on Twitter, and I'll arrange to have you on the show. I will set up a call and reserve you a time slot for our debate. And I'm more than willing to compensate you for your time as well. So, that's on the table. All of that being said, here's what I think. I think that the future of Star Wars movies have been affected hard by the sequel trilogy, which almost more than half of the fandom despise and disassociates from canon. I really, really don't like The Last Jedi, but with all of its weaknesses and flaws, there are multiple storylines from that very movie that should have just remained consistent in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due to The Last Jedi for actually not piggybacking fan service, which pertained to Rey's lineage. This allowed the Rey character to build her own identity from scratch, at least until the disgusting Rise of Skywalker movie came out. It didn't make sense for Rey to be related to Palpatine in any form. Why Disney thought it did? That's a second life mystery. The first life mystery being, are we living in a matrix? Yeah. So, somehow, Palpatine has returned. If you're taking writing lessons, I dare you to do this. Somehow, X character has returned unbeknownst to anyone. Cloning or some crap like that. I absolutely dare you. You might even try your luck successfully and get employed by incompetent Disney employers that will offer you a fat salary to write a screenplay for their Star Wars sequels, if it means that they can supplicate short-term wows from the audience. And then, 1 second later, the audience, after their wows, will begin scratching their heads and thinking to themselves, well, that just happened. How did it happen? It happened, but I don't know the why it happened. I only know, what's there. And it's getting so darn confusing because they don't want to give us a proper explanation. My point is, fans of the Star Wars franchise are no longer having faith in the very future of Star Wars. Because, let's face it, we've had our hearts broken too many times. Okay? Let that sink in. In the beginning of the segment, I mentioned in bad Shakespearean dialect that the subsequent master plan of Star Wars is like that of lovers. When your lover breaks your heart once, you won't talk to them for perhaps a day or two. You take a break, and then eventually making amends is on the table. But you still have that icky feeling that they're going to do it again. But you try to convince yourself, no, we should forgive Star Wars for this one lapse of judgment that will never be repeated again. They're going to make things right. They're going to fix things for the future. While you're patiently waiting for the next Star Wars movie, you sense that things might not bode well in the future for you and your lover. In other words, it might not bode well for Star Wars and the vast majority of the fandom. But Disney is not going to disappoint you straight off the bat. Oh no. They want to twist the sharp edge nice and slow before they plunge the knife of Mickey Mouse in your delicate heart. First, they released a fantastic Star Wars prequel, Rogue One, which restores your faith in the monumental essence of Star Wars and rebellion. Woohoo! Star Wars has a future after all. But oh no. Oh no. The Last Jedi comes along. Tra-la-la-la-la. And you know what you do next? You take your lover's things and throw them out into the street. They, Disney, have defiled the Star Wars fandom. You don't want to look at their ugly faces again. You should have known. They shattered your trust the first time around. The Last Jedi excreted on the very trust of the fandom that Disney shamelessly capitalized on to sell toys, books, and Happy Meals of new creatures and porgs, which only serve as extras and are absolutely irrelevant to the plotline of the movies. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury and disappointed Star Wars fandom, you ask about the future of Star Wars movies. You ask why the future is uncertain. Here is your answer. That 52% score on Rotten Tomatoes for Star Wars Episode 9, just to quote the critics' consensus word by word, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker suffers from a frustrating lack of imagination, but concludes this beloved saga with fan-focused devotion. Okay, great. It had some fan-centered devotion. And it is because of that very devotion that many of us disliked the Star Wars sequels. There are some of you out there, and I think we should respect that there are a minority who resonate with the sequels, and that's great. I wish that had the same effect on me, but it didn't. So I envy that. Good on you if you enjoyed The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. And I think the reason why we as a fandom are very reluctant to what Disney puts out is because we were, in a sense, pre-Disney, committed to watching Star Wars all the way through. I'll tell you what, if they release Star Wars Episode 10, I'll go see it. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna like it. This leads to my main point. If not enough fans like and trust Star Wars again like they used to, I think that the future of Star Wars movies might be put on hold. Although, there is another trilogy in the works, and Disney has the pocket change. So maybe they might wait until the fandom recovers from the negative reception of the Star Wars sequels. I honestly don't know. This will remain a mystery, and we can't really know for sure when and what is next for Star Wars movies. Now it's up to you to answer that question for me. What do you guys think is next for Star Wars movies? Do you think we'll get movies as soon as later next year? Or maybe not until 2024? Or perhaps even later? Another 30 years? I would be very intrigued to read your insights in my inbox and the comment section below. Your thoughts on the future of Star Wars. I go for the rather simple things in life, and that is grounded expectations for DC's latest and upcoming movie, Black Adam. I have 3 expectations that I would like to share with you. The first expectation: in Shazam, we're introduced to the first Shazam wizard, who bestowed Billy Batson his powers. I expect there to be groundwork for Black Adam's origin story, just like we did with Shazam, because it's been proven to be effective, because that's why more people like Shazam. It had a cohesive origin story. If Black Adam repeats that, they have a more higher likelihood of consolidating the box office through positive word of mouth. In the first trailer of Black Adam, there is mention of his old life as a slave, and that his son sacrificed himself to save him. Okay, now that's a good start. But where did Black Adam get his powers from? Or where? I expect that question to be answered to my full satisfaction, because let's face it, I never picked up a Black Adam comic. I could say the same for anyone else who don't read most DC comics, even though I should, because they're packed with fascinating lore. But on the off chance that I won't commit to a comic book, it is the job of a live action adaptation to unpack the primary components and spell it out to me, but at the same time maintain the entertainment factor so that I'm not bored out by exposition. The second expectation, and this is actor based: why is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a suitable candidate for the Black Adam role? I have no problem with The Rock playing Black Adam. If anything, I am excited to watch Black Adam play his first DC character ever. The question, though, is what ticked the rigorous box of criteria on who should play the comic book character to begin with, and what candidates should be shortlisted. Why Dwayne out of all of these shortlisted candidates? Am I going to like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam? Will enough of the portion of the general audience take delight in him when they watch Black Adam in the theaters on October 20th, 2022? The answer to that question should be the Black Adam movie itself. Because let's face it, The Rock has had his fair share of movie appearances. But his quantity of appearances does not determine the quality of his appearance. Hobbs and Shaw. I love that one. However, it's very difficult for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm probably not going to edit that out just for gags. Or maybe I will. It depends. But Warner Brothers is essentially giving Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting a bit carried away there with the mispronunciation. But yeah, Warner Brothers is basically giving him a part to play in a mythical cinematic universe. DC is filled with gods and urban legends, and then there is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson dwelling among those legends. Why him? It better not be because he's a popular celebrity and because he's a popular wrestler. Because, I mean, look, I know he will sell tickets, but can you hear what he's cooking in Black Adam? Well, we won't know yet, but I expect to know whether Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a competitive actor to begin with. So that leads me to my third and final expectation. And I'm going to raise my hopes high up for this one, because I think it's imperative that we get it. The crossover with Shazam, either through dialogue or an actual cameo appearance. I don't care. From what I'm familiar with from the comics, feel free to expand or correct me on anything that I might be misinformed about. But Shazam and Black Adam are enemies. In the Shazam post-credit scene, which I've seen, Black Adam was name dropped. So obviously he was teased to show up one way or another. And Black Adam will be his official live-action debut in a comic book movie. While I get that it will be fun for Black Adam to take on characters like Superman, it would be more fitting in how things are set up for the DC universe for Black Adam to meet Shazam or establish a rivalry between them and have them engage in a heated conflict. I doubt that would lead into the Shazam sequel, but who knows? Maybe a Black Adam sequel if it passes the box office checklist, or a Black Adam could maybe show up in a third movie to Shazam. Regardless, I expect Shazam to show up or be referenced in some capacity, even if it's not like a major role, and it shouldn't be because it's Black Adam's movie. However, I still think Shazam shouldn't just be glossed over. So yeah, these are my 3 expectations of Black Adam, which aren't limited to just those 3. I expect Black Adam not only to cross over with Shazam, and to not only tell us why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should play Black Adam, and some satisfying grand work for his origin story, but I also expect the movie to deliver on the brutality aspect of that character. Is he a hero? Is he not a hero? How he unleashed the deadly 7 sins in the world, because I heard that's fundamental to his misuse of power in the comic books. I also expect that to be explored in depth. Also, his relationship with his son, who we keep hearing in the trailers, and so on. The question now is, after hearing my 3 expectations for Black Adam, I now deflect the question back to you. What do you guys expect from Black Adam? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to reply to each of them. And one more thing. The hierarchy of the DC Universe is about to change with Black Adam. We have now reached the end of this installment of the Cinema Courtroom Show, where we critiqued movies. I had a lot of fun doing this podcast, so make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed episode 8 of the Cinema Courtroom. And I hope to see you guys again in the next episode, where we're going to talk about, yet again, another movie. As for what movie it's going to be, well, I'm still deciding between Inglourious Basterds or Goodfellas. Find out my final decision when the next episode launches this Tuesday on the YouTube and Spotify platform. Thank you once again for listening till the end. I am your galactic judge, Mark, and I hope you have a spectacular, spectacular day.
Hello there.
Court is now dismissed.